You're now tuned in to The Investor Show, where we teach simple wealth creation for the common investors with investment advisor, award-winning author, international speaker, and founder of Royal Financial Investment Group, Prince Dykes.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is The Investor Show. As always, this is your host, Prince Dykes, coming to you guys and girls live all the way from Denver, Colorado. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, comment, share button, and drop me an email. The email's in the description box if you got any questions. But as always, I don't have a lot of time. I don't have a lot of time. And I know you guys and girls don't have a lot of time. So we're going to jump straight into it.
What up, what up? It's your boy Vigo Sachi. This is The Investor Show, and you're checking in with the investor genius, Prince Dykes. Let's get it.
Most of you guys know him as being a great Saints wide receiver, playing for New Orleans Saints. I think it was about 10 years that he played, being a Super Bowl champion, and all the other great stuff. But without further ado, I know you guys just continue to hear my voice. Let me go ahead and bring on a special guest, Mr. Marques Colston. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing outstanding. First of all, I want to thank you for coming on to the Investors Show and taking your time out of your day. Now,
I appreciate you having me on.
No problem. Now, for the people out there who don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, you touched on it a little bit. I was fortunate and blessed enough to have a 10-year career down in New Orleans with the Saints. Had a ball. Had the time of my life playing for that great organization. Was able to win a Super Bowl, and about halfway through my career, I started to venture out into the entrepreneur world, and shortly thereafter into the investment world, and that's where I've been spending a lot of my time, post football. So it's interesting. I actually, as I was leaving the game, I was kind of looking forward to taking what I had been building, in entrepreneurship and in my investment portfolio and doing it full time, and I just had a blast doing it for the last 2 years since I've been retired.
Okay. Now, on the football field, you was like a quiet. First of all, let me go ahead and let you know, I'm from Georgia originally, so I'm a Falcons fan. So I remember seeing you twice a season, every season. You was like a quiet assassin, quiet guy, just would catch the ball, go over the middle, go deep. I'm like, ran like a gazelle. So I always had this little deep hatred against you all the time, but I definitely knew your name rang bells, all the other good stuff. But that's besides the point, because I know Drew Brees, I think he owns a bunch of Jimmy Johns, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Correct, yep.
Now, and you're halfway through your career, what got you into investing? Did you get brought up into this or something like that? What got you into this?
No, so I was actually fortunate enough. Actually, before I get started, I'm glad we can actually be friends now, because that rivalry runs deep.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah, man, that was some of those best games, man, in my career. But I was fortunate enough, as a young player, to have two advisors in my corner that were actually former players. And one in particular was he kind of became a mentor to me. His last year in the league was actually my first year in the league, and I got a chance to really watch him transition from the field into financial services real time. And what that did for me was it kind of gave me the blueprint on what transition and what successful transition looked like. So about 3 or 4 years in, I've always kind of had this curious entrepreneurial mind. And about 3 or 4 years in, I decided to take the leap. And, it was a really, really good learning experience. It was obviously a learning curve coming from, spending all my entire adult life kind of chasing a football dream. But it was a really great experience just being able to get in, boots on the ground, learn a ton of different skill sets. And the advantage to doing it that way was that was at the peak of the platform that I was building, the peak of my career, really. So what it allowed me to do was, as I was kind of learning and as I was sharpening my skills as an entrepreneur and a business person, it allowed me to really leverage that platform to a higher level. And once the doors were open, I was able to get in and really, conduct business at a higher level.
Okay. Now, you talk about this structure and you talk about building a platform. Could you explain to us what you mean by that? What type of business was it that you were getting involved with?
Yeah, so, the advantage, I guess the gift and the curse as a professional athlete is you have this, I call it a platform, but it's really there's this influence, right? There's this ability to touch, thousands of people, at any given time. There's this perceived influence around the way that you move around. And if you can leverage it the right way, it can open some doors for you that might not necessarily be opened. The flip side of that is, if you're, doing some things, social media is probably the biggest platform there is right now. If you're doing some things that aren't, the most moral things in the world, that can bite you in the butt as well. But that platform of professional sports, it was one that I was just able to leverage it to open the doors, and it only works if you're willing to do the work on the back end and really learn what it is that you're getting into, and you're gonna scrape yourself up along the way a little bit, but it's all learning experience.
Okay. That's true. I definitely believe that you got to get your hands dirty into certain things to really learn it. Now, we hear a lot of stories about athletes that run into financial situations, and us as regular people, we say, man, how does that happen? You got millions of dollars, and, how do those things kind of, being in that locker room and being around so many professional athletes, what do you think the problem is with that? How does that happen to people?
Well, I think it's not just the athlete problem, and I think that's one of the common misconceptions. I equate it a lot to there's two ways I look at it. I equate it to lottery winners that come into a large sum of money and don't really have the infrastructure to be able to handle it. And I also equate it to, I always ask people when they bring up this question, think back to when you were 22 years old, 21, 22 years old, fresh out of college, and if somebody gave you multi-million dollars, what would you do with it? And, that's the reality of what's happening here. It's you got 22-year-old, 23-year-old guys fresh out of college, getting multi-million dollar contracts, dropped in their lap. And it's a matter of, if you don't come from money, and if you don't understand, if you don't come from generations of money, you don't necessarily have people in your immediate circle that are even, equipped to handle that as well. So it's really a matter of the situation that you're coming into so quickly without the infrastructure to be able to handle it.
Right. So what are if a new player, because, we have different athletes to chime in and things like that. For a new player, somebody like that, what type of advice would you give to them?
Well, the traditional way to do it is you got to hire, some kind of a financial advisor or wealth manager, just because it doesn't make sense to get that kind of money and have it sitting in a bank account and uninsured. So you got to be able to put that money away, and most people will put it away in your traditional investment portfolio, and you've got to hire somebody to help you do that. But at the same time, it's in your best interest to be able to learn that side of the business. So, being able to hire somebody that is not only willing to manage your finances, but also willing to teach you, what's going on in your portfolio is, I think huge. And you got to want to take an interest in it, because ultimately that's your future.
Okay. That's very smart move. I would agree with that as well. Because just like you would hire a personal trainer to take care of certain things, I think you should have a financial advisor as well. Now, you mentioned you got into investing halfway through your career. Now that you've been retired for the past 2 years, right?
Yep, correct.
So now you've been retired for the past 2 years. What type of investing are you into now?
Well, a lot of my investments have been, angel investments. They've been in like earlier stage companies, and probably the last 3 or 4 years, I've really started to spend more time in sports technology. And it's a space that I kind of stumbled into in an interesting way. My first handful of years in my career, I was injured a ton and ended up, having a ton of postseason surgeries and rehabbing all the time, and never really got a chance to enjoy my off seasons. But it got to a point about year 3 or year 4 where I just kind of got tired of being reactive to what was happening to my body, and I decided to kind of shift that approach into more proactive. So I just got online and I just started looking up, different companies, different solutions that, could help me take care of my body and kind of prevent injuries as opposed to always treating them on the back end. And what I saw was kind of the light bulb moment for me is, I would just go to the websites and reach out, send an email. And what I saw was the people that were getting back to me weren't necessarily salespeople. There were a lot of decision makers, C-suite level people getting back in touch with me. And it kind of clicked that they see something of value here in me reaching out and potentially what I can bring to the table. And that was kind of where it clicked for me. Like, this is an industry where I can go in, understand one side of the business, shorten the learning curve, and really learn the other side of the business. And that was kind of how I got into sports tech. And, it started in health and wellness and performance. And as I learned more and more of the industry, my focus started to expand into, some of the emerging media and, some of the interactive media, fan engagement, and all those pieces where when you hear sports tech, you wouldn't necessarily think, it wouldn't necessarily be top of mind, but there are a lot of places and avenues where technology and sports intersect, and they're only getting more and more by the day.
Okay. Now now you look for sports technology things that, are you interested in like I know they're talking about doing new helmets, trying to stop concussions and things like that. Are you interested into that type of sports technology, or is it mostly just the medicine side of the house?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of the performance stuff. I know the injury prevention, concussion awareness is definitely a huge industry right now, and definitely interested in that. But it also reaches into, some of the new media when you talk about virtual reality and augmented reality. Blockchain, I know, is going to be an interesting one, as we, keep moving forward in sports. So there's a lot of places where technology intersects sports. And, when you really think about sports and entertainment and what it means, to us as a society, it really starts to make sense because, sports is one of the few places that, it's where it's the gathering place. It's where everybody comes together. It's where, people from all walks of life can come and enjoy, a game or enjoy a concert. And, when you think about it from that lens, it starts to make sense how, all of these different areas of technology are touched through sport.
Okay. Now going back and looking at everything you mentioned up a big thing, blockchain technology. I know blockchain, we all know, to the listeners, that's the technology behind cryptocurrencies. How do you feel about cryptocurrencies?
I mean, I think now, by no means am I an expert. It's something that I'm, just kind of diving in myself and starting to learn a little bit. But I think from what I've seen, it's a really interesting industry in that it's another one that literally touches everything. So I would say I'm probably more excited about the blockchain itself than some of the cryptocurrencies, because I think the market has kind of gotten flooded already, and you're seeing a new ICO pop up, on a daily, weekly basis. And I think that market can probably get saturated, and there's a lot of regulation and stuff that has to happen to kind of stabilize that market. But I think blockchain, from what I know about it, has a chance to be, one of those transformational technologies that, it kind of takes us into a new generation.
See, I me being a Falcons fan, I knew it was something about you that I said, you know what? He's not that bad. It's something about him, because you and I have the same thought process when it comes down to blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies. I've had, I don't know how many different companies reach out to the show that, hey, we're doing an ICO. They're popping up like popcorn. I tell people I'm not smart enough to invest in the cryptocurrencies, because how am I supposed to pick the right one out of 1,300, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, another thing I want to get into, I'm glad, you gave us your perspectives on cryptocurrency, and that you know the difference between cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology, right? And because a lot of people don't understand that, the blockchain technology versus a particular coin or a token or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it was interesting. I was seeing that you was doing something at Columbia University. You mind telling us about that?
Yeah, so been working on this for probably a year now, and it's blessed to actually see it come to fruition. But it's really, we developed a program. Myself, my partner that I mentioned earlier, my former mentor, and there's a third partner that I've been working with since about 2012 on the investment side, and we've always we all kind of came together around education. So I met my partner Erica through an education program and an angel investment network that she was running back in 2012, and that's one of the ways that I initially got into angel investing. But we've stayed in touch. We've worked together in the meantime, and we were able to link up. I think it was #sports last year, and we had all been kind of circling around building an education program for professional athletes around investing, just because it's a space that we had all been in, and her educational background, obviously, me coming from the sports side and kind of diving into the investment world and really understanding and really experiencing some of the gaps in education. So we actually put this program together, took it to Columbia, and kind of pitched it to Columbia, and they were really excited about it. And really, what we pitched to them was really a kind of a dual-sided course. It's on one side, the first course is venture investing for professional athletes, and what we want to do there and what we want to accomplish is, I mentioned that our platform earlier, in the show, and we get a ton of access to a lot of different investment opportunities, some good, some not so good, and really it's at a place where, like, this asset class is really, it's kind of in vogue, and you're starting to see more and more athletes venture out into the space, and there isn't really an education around it. So, and there really isn't anyone in the ecosystem that is really motivated to make sure that, you can function and you can navigate the space. The traditional financial advisor, he's, more so focused on, your traditional investments. Your contract agent, he's focused on negotiating your contract. There's really no one in your ecosystem that's focused on venture investing. And, we wanted to put together a program that was not necessarily focused around telling athletes where they should invest, but more so focused around developing a process to be able to vet and evaluate deals to make sure that you're weeding out the bad deals on the front end, and you're spending time, really evaluating and digging into the opportunities that might be a good fit. And it's really from the mindset of you got to operate like a VC. Venture capital funds, I think they do a great job of, curating the best deals, the best-in-class deals, analyzing those deals, and they're only going to invest in a small fraction of those deals. So, as an athlete, kind of taking that mentality and building that process to be able to navigate the space is really what we're trying to get accomplished in this first course.
Okay. Now, this course that you have, can anybody take it? Do they have to be physical? Is it something they can do online? And to make sure I got it correctly, you built a course that pretty much teaches athletes about venture capitalism.
Correct. So it's a hybrid course. It's I'm gonna try to get the dates right. It's May 11th through 13th on campus. It's going to be kind of a lecture style, Friday, Saturday, half a Sunday. We'll have Columbia professors, teaching those courses. You'll leave there 4 weeks. 4 weeks after that, we'll have online and digital content where we'll have a group project where you're going to end up, getting into groups of 4 or 5 and evaluating a live deal as if you're a venture partner. And then we'll also have, throughout that 4-week period, we'll have lectures from investors and entrepreneurs that are, in the private space. And then we'll come back June, I want to say 9th, 10th, and 11th, Friday, Saturday, Sunday again, and wrap it up with lectures through Columbia professors again. So it's a 6-week time block, but there's only 2 weekends that you're physically on campus.
Okay. Now, with that being said, that you're teaching athletes how to become venture, which I think is awesome, by the way. People out there who don't know what venture capitalism is, it's pretty much like they're going to teach you how to be a shark off a Shark Tank, right? Now,
pretty much, yeah.
Now, how can, let's say, if a new startup out there that's listening that says, man, I will, I'm looking for funding. How could I have access to venture? What would you tell that person? Is it something that you can do for them, or is it how do a venture capitalist find a new startup?
Well, I think that's part of venture capital. As an investor, I think you're kind of clued into. You've always got to be networking and not necessarily searching for deals, but you've always got to be networking and finding deal sources, right? So whether it's some of these accelerators, whether it's some individual relationships that you might have, whether it's some of these industry shows, the CESs of the world, the collision conferences of the world. I think as a VC, you're always networking. You're always trying to build relationships with other people in the space, other like-minded people in the space. Because ultimately that's where some of the best deal flow comes from. But then there's also opportunities, to co-invest with some other VCs. So my short answer would be, it's networking and relationship building.
Awesome. It's a baseball player. I don't want to say their name. He was just a young kid, just got drafted. And do you remember Vontae Leach? Yep. So Vontae was on the show, and this young kid just got drafted. He heard Vontae. He reached out and he said, hey, I want to get into investing and things like that. He comes to mind when I think of you. And the thing about it is, how can someone sign up or find out more about your course at Columbia?
We're actually on the Columbia Business School website. I do not have the web address on hand, but you can find us on the Columbia Business School website. We're in their executive education programs. We're kind of grouped in with all the other ones, and you can find it under athlete programs.
Okay. that'll be fine. We'll have it in the description box for people out there that's listening currently, that will listen in the future, in the past, or whatever the case may be. We'll have it in the description box so you can go click on right below wherever you find this at and be able to get to your site. Now, another thing, is there anything else that you look to invest in outside of sports technology?
I mean, that's really where my focus is. Obviously, a good opportunity is a good opportunity, but those are things that just kind of come across the desk through some of the network and the relationships that I just mentioned. But my kind of outward focus is on sports and tech. I think really because it's such a vast industry, and it's kind of growing and evolving every day, and it's something that I'm passionate about, so I kind of stay in that lane more often than not.
Okay, that's fine. Now, for someone out there that's tuning in, or anybody out there that's like, man, how can I get in contact with Mr. Colston? Is there any way they can get in contact with you? Or do you use social media at all, or things like that?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. That's probably where I spend the most of my time on social media. I'm also on Twitter at Marques Colston. You can find me there, and also you can visit my website at dynastysportsgroup.com.
Okay. Also, I want to let you know, you didn't mention Instagram, but I think you need to get an Instagram. I was looking for you on Instagram, and it's like 10 Marques Colstons on Instagram. So I'm like, I don't know who is this. It's pictures of you, but I knew it wasn't. I knew it wasn't you, and I was like, I don't think this is him. So
no,
I don't know if you ever look at the Instagram, or you may want to talk to your PRs and tell them like, hey, we need to get verified over there. There's a lot of impersonators out there of Marques Colston.
Yeah, it's funny, man. I actually do have an Instagram, but I do not do a whole lot on there at all. But it's funny. I actually grabbed one while I still could grab one.
Wow.
So yeah, at some point I'll build it up. But like I said, I spend most of my time on social media on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So
now, there's one question I got to ask you a little bit off of investing. How is it that you never made the Pro Bowl?
You know what, man? I couldn't call it. Couldn't call it. It's clearly not a game that's driven on numbers and not driven on anything. I'll call it tangible, but the one thing I can say is I've always been a fan of football. So the years that I felt like I really should have made it, I would look at the guys that did make it, and I couldn't be so mad. So it would have been great to have a couple under my belt, but it just wasn't in the cards.
Did you get your Kanye West on? Are you gonna be like, hey man, I'm happy for Julio and everything, but I'm one of the greatest receivers of all. But
no, man, it's funny, man. I stand by the work, man. I work my butt off, and man, if it ends up that way, that's great, man. I did it for, when I left the game, I felt like I was respected by my peers, and that was really all that mattered to me. All the other accolades and stuff that come from the writers and the media, those aren't the guys I'm competing against. So it really didn't bother me too much. It's about if the guys I played against respected me, that's all that really mattered to me.
That's very true, because I definitely I respect you just being a Falcons fan and seeing you twice a year. So I definitely respected your game, and like, man, dang, man, can somebody guard that dude? Man, come on, who man is that? So, but before we get out of here, is there anything else that you want any listener or any follower to pick up from you?
No, I mean, I think just in general, I would say if there's anything out there in the investment world that you want to learn about, there's access to information, because I think that's it might sound, overgeneralized, man, but the more access that you have the information, the more that you can learn, obviously, the better off you're going to be. And that's, there's going to be some hard lessons in the investment side of it too. So I would say if you're going to get into it, you got to be a student of the game. You got to be disciplined. You got to be, all those things, but you also got to be patient.
Got it. Okay. All right. Well, I definitely got to say it was a pleasure having you on. Definitely learned a lot from you because, we don't see you talk that much or hear you talk that much. And, when you're in the league, you just caught touchdowns. And I don't know what you did in the locker room, but as far as the fans and the media and stuff like that, we didn't see you around that much. And it was so, when I looked you up and came across you, it was just so surprising and energetic to be like, wow, he's into investing. Like, what got him into this? And he's an angel investor now. And to sit back and hear of your course at Columbia and things like that or whatnot. So I think it was awesome. Are you familiar with the Ogden brothers?
Who's that?
The Ogden brothers, Jonathan Ogden, Marques Ogden?
Yeah, I am. Yep, I follow Marques on LinkedIn, yep.
Okay, cool. So I don't know if you guys are in contact with each other. But I definitely think y'all could, talk and all the other good stuff. So definitely appreciate you having you on. Once again, guys, this is the Investor Show. As always, this is your host, Prince Dice, coming all the way live from Denver, Colorado. Marques, I didn't even get where you was from. Well, where you at right now?
I live in South New Jersey, right outside of Philly.
Right outside of Philly. Well, he's calling from Philly. I'm in Denver, Colorado. Thank you guys for tuning on. Mr. Marques Colston. Definitely will be in contact. And appreciate you guys. Until the next video, podcast, cartoon, or whatever you see me do crazy around the globe. Peace, be safe, I'm out, and thank you.
Investors with investment advisor, award-winning author, international speaker, and founder of Royal Financial Investment Group, Prince Dykes.